Eric Steele, former United goalkeeping coach, fingerprints on the careers of two generations of Schmeichels, Van der Sar, David De Gea, among others. Welcome.
Good to see you, Stephen.
Thanks for coming on. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, enjoying life, enjoying semi-retirement, but still keep a close eye on the game, and also obviously my ex-club, Man United, who I left in 2013.
Time flies, eh? Bloody hell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really, mate. Well, you say there, obviously, you keep an eye on how things are going. It's no secret that we've signed a new goalkeeper this week, Senne Lammens. Just by way of fact checking, do you know much about him?
Yeah, I did. And I've known he's been on the radar. So whenever something crops up, inevitably, because of the goalkeeping situation, the way it's been over the last 6 months, 1 year, with Barry in there and obviously Onana, you can understand why other goalkeepers would be on the radar. So yeah, I'd seen him. I mean, he's got a great frame. 22. He's very highly respected. I feel for him in terms of where he's going to get his experience from. Yes, he's signed for Manchester United. What you also need to do is be internationally tested, which is again, it's a pressure game. It's a different sort of game. But he's got two fairly average goalkeepers in front of him. Courtois, Sells. I mean, it really is a tough job to go in, develop his international career, but he's young enough to do that. But he's got to gain the experience now of coming into Manchester United, getting to know the club, getting to know the team, getting to know the coaches. It's all right seeing the football club from the outside. It's totally different when you step through that door at Carrington. That's when you have to start and believe that every day is an important day. Every day is a learning day. And it will be for him. He seems a very intelligent guy. One of his strengths, which I think is going to come in really handy, is his shot stopping, because that really is somewhere where, for me, the modern game goes too far the other way, where they're talking about with the feet, etc. I think we've gone too far down that line. So I think um, Lammens, if he's going to be living up to the hype that we've heard, he's very much a good shot stopper, and that's what Man United need. They need to keep that ball out the net. There's games in the last 6 months where you've gone, can't believe that. How's that gone in? So he's walking into it's a big job, it's a big task, but hopefully he's going to be up for it.
As you touched upon, he is obviously very young for a goalkeeper, 22. That's not an unfamiliar subject to yourself, obviously having brought David in 1920. I mean, while you were scouting him, and you did so extensively, obviously, you also did your due diligence, looked around. There were some other great goalkeepers in the market, and Neuer, Lloris, I think you mentioned before, were on the radar. What swung it your way? What convinced you to go, right, let's go really young end of the scale?
Well, it wasn't much the young. It was the one thing you do is the first thing you do when you walk into a football club is you need to know, hey, you go and speak to the head coach or the manager. So in my case, it was Sir Alex. And I said to Sir Alex, what's my briefing? And in the end, he says, look, I want a younger Edwin van der Sar. I want somebody who can keep the ball out the net, can actually be authoritative, can he actually work with his feet? We had no issues with David his first 2 years, the 2, 3 years that I worked with him. All this issue with Ten Hag, I failed to understand where that was highlighted. And just moving on, if you look at, there's an unbelievable video available of 8 minutes of David De Gea at Fiorentina. Have a look at that. If you're a fan, have a look at that. If you're anybody in the hierarchy on the scouting department, get a look at his first year in Fiorentina. He's spraying the ball about everywhere. He's making saves. He's coming for crosses, and you look and go, that's what you knew you had. So that it's very important that when you actually go into a club, you get to right. What's your philosophy? And what do you want in your goalkeeper? So I did. I saw David 17 times. I saw him playing for Spain under 21s. I first saw him play in under 17s final.
Okay.
And I didn't need a goalkeeper. I was at Man City at the time. And I had Joe Hart, Kasper Schmeichel, Isaacson. But I went to the actual final and I just saw things in the game. Spain played England. I looked and I went, wow, 30 minutes. He hadn't touched the ball. Then a ball was played back to him. He moved it from his feet and he actually hit a diagonal. And he hadn't really had a great deal to do. Similar second half, nothing to do. So he's got to make the big save. So I just made notes and I kept them. So that when it came to, right, now we know, Edwin, how long can Edwin? So Edwin, we've got 3 years. extra. He was 38 when I came in. He retired when he was 41. So from day one, when I stepped through the door, we were always then looking, can we replace Edwin internally? So you had to look at Cusack, you had to look at Ben Foster. Tom Heaton was a young goalkeeper who we loaned out. Sam Johnson was just 16. So that's your first port of call. And the more I watched David, and I went and watched nearly all the number ones, Mandana, who's under Lloris, who's there now. Stecklenburg was in Holland. Obviously, Lloris in France. So I went and I literally, and also you've got to look at the scouting system Man United had. We had scouts worldwide, so they were sending in who's the best goalkeeper in Argentina, who's the best goalkeeper in North America, South America, Scandinavia. So that you had great resources. It was just a question of tapping into it. So that really was the briefing as to why, in the end, we made the decision after a good 18 months that we'd go for David.
And bringing him in, not to harp on too much about the age, but bringing him in at such a tender age for a goalkeeper, having come in from Spain, how do you make that easier on him? The opening period.
I think the biggest thing is that you knew you had a manager who was never being afraid to put youth into a football team at Man United. What he hadn't done was put goalkeepers in as young as we were going to pretend to do obviously with David. But because of that, we signed him 5 months before he actually arrived. That gave myself and the staff a really, really great time to make sure we got things ready so that when he came through the door in June, after he'd won the 21 championships for Spain, we had everything ready. We had the liaison officer, right, let's get him the property sorted very, very quickly. He needed to learn to drive, which people didn't realize. So it's not just move to a country, but also learn to drive. We then had the physical aspect, which we knew would need to develop. So very quickly, we established with sports science what would be required when he came in. How would we do the build-up through pre-season? Getting to know your teammates, learn the language. So we had all these different people, diet, nutrition, allied alongside the gym programs that he had to take on. And he went from I think it was 70 kilo to 76 kilo within the year, but that was all muscle.
Yeah.
And there's picture of him. So in the end, we knew. And yes, when he came in, it took him time, but we knew that. And that's the way that we'd always. And again, the manager was terrific because he never criticised. He only talked about the positives, as he'd done whenever he'd blooded younger players going in. The number of players that he's given opportunities. And he was prepared to wait. He was prepared to wait and show patience. And we'd brought Anders Lindegaard in before that season, which was to say, look, when Edwin retires, we know for a fact David's not going to play a full season. So Lindegaard had came to us the season before, played in the Champions League, had a terrific game at Benfica, played another game. So we knew we'd prepared him. He'd worked alongside Edwin, which was terrific for him. So then we started that campaign, 2011, with really Lindegaard, who was up to speed, and then David, who we knew would take time to get there.
And you obviously listed a long list there of all the off-field preparation that you can give David coming over. But as soon as the football starts, it's a steep learning curve, isn't it? And I suppose, obviously, there was a couple of errors early on. The one at West Brom on the opening day of the Premier League season got probably the most attention. How do you ready him for the media scrutiny, I suppose?
He's one of the calmest men. One of the biggest qualities that you have at top goalkeepers. They are the calmest people on and off the field. And you would never get a calmer person. Edwin van der Sar, that was his biggest strength. I'm the calmest man. And he was. And you look at David. David had that trait in him. Nothing fazed him. Even when he made error, boom, very quickly. And again, part of your role as a coach is to get to know the player, the person, before you get to know the actual goalkeeper or the player himself. And I spent time on that. I spent time on asking in and around Spain, people that I'd known, what's he like on and off. His father was a ex-goalkeeper, and his father used to drive him to training. So what a great asset to have, that each day when he's at Atletico, his father would drop him off. And on the way home, you could have a debrief with your dad, but your dad was obviously an ex-goalkeeper. So in terms of preparation, he'd had that from 16. And you got to remember, when he came in, he'd already won a European trophy.
Yeah.
With Atletico. He'd already won with Spain. So he's a winner, and he knew what winning was involved. And if you step into Man United and you know how to win, huge, huge asset. And
Well, that leads quite nicely into the next question, I suppose, because there's pressure, isn't there? Whenever you join United, but how, in your opinion, how different is the pressure now? Because obviously David came in as a winner, as you say, but into a winning team where it was right, we're winning the league or in the shake-up every year. That's the standard. Whereas now Senne Lammens is coming in to a team it's been evolving or revolving, I suppose, for a great deal of time. And the goalkeeping position has been under a lot of scrutiny. Is it a different kind of pressure, or is it just same thing in the tin?
no, it's a different pressure he's walking into now. Because the one thing he hasn't got, which he could have done with, there's no Carabao Cup, there's no European football. So in order to experience Man United on a Champions League night, he's going to have to wait some time for that. That's a different test to walking out for a Premier League game. He's going to very quickly find out what it's about the Manchester Derby, if and when he's selected. But if you're bringing him in and you recognise you've got a problem with the two goalkeepers at the club at present, if he goes to Man City, he's going to learn that. So in a way, he's going to have a lot of time to bed down, which is important. He's got to get to know his new goalkeeping coach. He's got to get to know a lot of the physical aspects, how to work in that gym area. He's going to get that opportunity because there's going to be a lot. Strange for any player coming into Man United that you haven't got Saturday game, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, which is the way I had it with David. There was always another game to focus on. He's going to get a lot of training time because he's not going to be involved. They're out the Carabao. They're not in Europe. So his total function has to be up till January is to say, right, I've got to make sure I bed in here, do everything he possibly can. And if he wants to improve his international status, what he has to do is improve his club status. So he's moved from a Belgian club, which, no disrespect, the Belgian league compared to our Premier League, he's going to find the game quicker. He's got to get used to his teammates. So effectively, we're 3 games in the league. He's got to step in now and very quickly. But I think the good point is that it's not a good point for the football club. It's a good point for Lammens coming in, that he's going to get that training time Monday to Friday to work with Amorim and his coaches, and that'll help him. That's like a fast track going on, really.
Right. Okay. And how much onus is there on the likes of Tom Heaton and your senior players, especially your defenders, I suppose, to help him bed in and just really, really make him adapt?
Yeah, Tom Heaton will be brilliant for him.
Yeah.
Because Tom Heaton's there not just as a training goalkeeper, and he'll want to make sure the standards in the training are really as good as they should be for a club of Man United stature. Tom will be very, very good. But again, it's his relationship. I don't know the Portuguese coach that well. But what I do know, he's got to very quickly establish a rapport, very quickly establish that this is what we are needed. He'll also have to do his due diligence in preparing. So with David on a Tuesday, we'd very quickly establish this is who you're playing against. You're going to go to Everton, where they will put crosses in the box. They will be physical. A bit like when we used to go to Stoke, you had to say, "You're ready for the long throw, Rory Delap." So that David was given that information on a Tuesday. He'd then shown the videos of what would expect. That's what that coach has got to do. He's got to introduce him to the Premier League, fast track him. He's got to show him this is the Man City strength. This is what they do on set play. So each week's going to be again the new goalkeeper building his knowledge of the Premier League via the coaching staff, via the manager, via the preparation. So he's going to have to be a sponge for the first 6 months.
And I suppose how key is patience from the fans finally, because it's like I say, it's been an issue that's been subject of constant debate, and the temptation will be there in any supporter's mind to go, right, new goalkeeper, here's the solution. But he is young. It is a unique sporting environment. It's a unique kind of pressure that he's coming into. He's very calm by all accounts, but people can help, can't they?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, and I think, don't be wrong, I think the Man United fans will be terrific. They will welcome him. They will get behind him. What he needs to do is have what you haven't seen. There hasn't been enough in the last 6 months of match-winning saves that you could highlight and go, Onana won the game for us. I'm sure he wanted to do that, and I'm sure Bayenda, when he got the chance, Bayenda unfortunately wasn't really looked after properly. I mean, he was there for a season before he'd hardly played. He played 1 game in the FA Cup. That's not a preparation if anything happens to the number one. Now, I'm sure this is where Amorim knows bringing him in, we've got to really integrate him into the team, into the squad, into the culture that he's trying to create. But he's got to hit the ground. I feel from him one way because he's going to have to hit the ground running. This is a team that are desperate for a win. And the first 3 or 4 fixtures, boy, oh boy, if ever you wanted a baptism of fire, but I'll be fully behind him. If he's given that number 1 shirt, I'll be fully behind him and saying, go on, you go and do it some. You go and make Belgium proud, make your family proud.
Well, that's it. It's a baptism of fire, as you say, but it's also a huge opportunity for him, isn't it? If he does get selected.
Oh, I mean, if he's a baby, when you think David Allright came in when he was 20, but his experience of winning, he had a winning attitude, a winning mind. He knew when the calmness was needed. He knew when he had to speed the game up. He knew when to side on and set play going. He knew when he could throw into the midfield, into Fletch or Michael Carrick. This is where he's got to get to know the players. And listen, everybody will be wanting him to do well. Everybody in that football club will want, if we can get that, they've got to build the spine again. And the spine starts with as your goalkeeper, as your centre defenders, as your midfield areas, or your strike. I think they've looked like the strikers, yes. The midfield is still looking to build. He's not sure yet in terms of back four, so it'll be vital if he is playing with the elite or he's playing with Harry. He needs to know, get alongside him, get to know his strengths. Whenever I played, my best 2 friends were the 2 centre halves in front of me. I wanted to know everything about him. And when David came in, I mean, he had Vidic and Ferdinand. I mean, he had a terrific wall there in front of him of experience. Or albeit by the time his first season, he had a back four that was he had an Ecuadorian, Valencia at right back. He had Vidic, Serbian. He had Rio, English, stroke London. You then had Patrice, French. But then he also had people that were in that dressing room who could speak Spanish as well. This guy won't have a problem. He'll have no problem with the language. So it's up to him. And it's probably the dream move that he's got. And he knows. I mean, Peter didn't come to Man U until he's 28. Edwin came when he was 34. David came when he's 20. So age doesn't mean a great deal. It's how you grab that opportunity and use the experience you've got to go and thrive and push on and develop. And Man United are in a stage of regroup and rebuilding. Now he's going to be part of a major rebuild. Wouldn't it be great if he comes out in the next 2 years with a Premier League or an FA Cup winners medal? And that's what he's come to do. Develop himself, but also hopefully help Man United to get back on track.
Brilliant. Eric, thank you so much for your time. Love that.
Okay.